Hi, everyone, and I want to take the time to thank you again for joining me and to mention that this is something a little different, something I've actually been putting off because I eventually wanted to deal with it, didn't want to deal with it, I guess. But I think the truth is, it should be shared. So I guess you can call this an author's confession. It's certainly not really a confession that I was a nerd growing up. Uh, yes, I wore the glasses. Um, I did not have a pocket protector. That just was not a thing for me. I guess I wasn't really your Urkel kind of nerd. I grew up. I really grew up in the hood in Little Rock, Arkansas, and you didn't see a whole lot of people running around with glasses and carrying a book because that was my thing, was reading. My other thing was I worked. I started working when I could, as early as possible, which was age 14. So I've been working for a lot of my lifetime. The thing is, when I was 14 is when I learned some pretty tough lessons. And from the time I was 14 until I was 16 was when I struggled with something that I probably shouldn't have, but I did. The first thing is that at the age of 14, I had a little boyfriend, and one day when I was home alone, I was fresh out the shower, just chilling, getting ready for, I think it was I can't remember, I think it maybe was a concert. I really can't remember um, every single detail, but I can remember all of the feelings in the moment of the lesson that happened in that day. I let my boyfriend in. He came by for a visit. And, young, dumb, we're touchy, we're feely, and we're alone. And the next thing I know is that there's something happening somewhere that should not be happening. There's a part of me that was trying to be forced into that just I was a virgin and it would not give away. And it was horrifying. It was terrifying. I was scared out of my mind. And adrenaline. Adrenaline is the main thing I remember. I remember feeling violated that this was even happening. I fought back, arms, legs, everything. And thankfully, he came to his senses before he could break past that final hurdle to completely and utterly violating my entire innocence and tearing it all to shreds. I remember screaming and hollering. I remember never wanting to speak to him again, never wanting to see him again, never wanting anything to do with him ever in life. I remember saying how close he'd gotten to raping me. And the fact that I could even say those words chilled me to the bone. It still has a little bit of an impact today, but not the same. Here's a bit of the problem. In time, I learned to forgive him so that I didn't hold on to the hate. And I didn't hold on to the bitterness. And I didn't hold on to a lot of those ugly feelings that really could have taken root and ruined me from the inside. What I did not do was I did not forgive myself. I blamed myself every day, all the time. It was my fault. I let him in. I'm the one who was probably sitting there encouraging the touching and the kissing, and maybe I encouraged him. Maybe there was something I'd done that said or hinted that I was ready for something more. I wanted something more, even though I didn't say it, didn't hint it, didn't try, because I didn't. I didn't want it because I knew I wasn't ready. I wasn't ready to take that step. And I continued to always blame myself. And it didn't help that when I would see people on TV, whether it was real life or an episode on television, where the rape victim was always the one put on trial. Something about them that asked to be raped, that they wanted to be violated, that they wanted someone to just force themselves upon them and take without permission. Not take with permission, which is so different, but take without permission, to grab and own with no qualms about how I would feel, how it would destroy me, how it would destroy any person who's so physically, emotionally, and mentally violated in such a way. When I always saw that the victim seemed to always be on trial, I couldn't see myself wanting to say anything to anyone other than if it was quietly with another victim to make them not feel alone. Because if they'd actually gone through the whole thing, I could at least sympathize in the violation, not in the full breach. I can't sympathize with that. I can't even pretend to sympathize with that. But I can say that I do know what it is like to be violated. To have something so close to you, so nearly ripped from you. It isn't a good feeling at all. And it's probably not been smart of me to always blame myself. But that isn't the only thing, and I wish it was the only thing. Because I was working, and I'm trying to refrain from saying too many details because I don't want to go into names. But where I worked was a very affluent family. I was the project kid. They would come pick me up in their Mercedes Benz, bring me to work because I didn't really have a car, and that kept me from having to ride the bus. But for the 2 years I worked at this location, I allowed, and here I go, still sometimes blaming myself because I don't know how to stop sometimes. I was harassed by two young men who were older than me. They were college age, and perhaps they took their words as me being complimented, but when someone's telling you how they want to sex you up in not so many words, use your imagination and come up with something dirtier and uglier and more perverted. The things that they wanted to do to the 14-year-old me, the 15-year-old me. Their hands on places that should not have been there. And yes, I dealt with it for 2 years. No, I did not tell my mother, because if I told her, I'm pretty darn sure she would have made me stop. And if I stopped, then whatever money I was bringing in to help out the family would stop until I could find another job. And I didn't really want to do that. And then I didn't want to try to be all reporting, because imagine me, 14-year-old kid from the projects, trying to point the finger at the son of one of the richest guys in the neighborhood, or not even the neighborhood, but one of the richer African American families, one of the more affluent families of our city. Me pointing the finger and saying that he and his cousin are regularly sexually harassing me. They are saying things to me that make me feel dirty and make me want to go home and take a shower, because their words are like dirt being poured on me all the time. Their hands make my skin crawl, and I don't know how to make it stop, because it's their business, it's their place of ownership, and I was just there trying to work, trying to just help my family, that's all. But imagine Project Kid me pointing the finger at the affluent family. Yeah. I don't think that would have gone over very well at all. The denials, of course, would be understandable. And then I would be the one with the finger points at me, saying, how could you, when we were helping you and we're picking you up and bringing you here and we're paying you, and it was like I was stuck in my own catch-22, say something and lose the job and don't say anything and be the only one to have to deal with it. So it was better that I struggled alone and not had to have anyone else really deal with it. Not really have to have anyone else struggle with what was happening. And again, this was something I blamed on myself. Maybe if I wore looser pants, which I tried to do, looser shirts, which I tried to do, if I weren't so curvy, if I don't know, maybe if I didn't seem like I was flirting or flirting back, if I anything I could come up with, I figured if it was better to blame myself, then so be it, so that no one else had to feel anything and I could just deal with it alone. And that is how I pretty much dealt with it. I swept it under the rug until I just couldn't deal with it anymore. I hopped on a bus, I found another job, and I left. I left because I didn't want to feel ugly like that anymore. I did not want to feel like such a piece of crap anymore. No, I did not run off and do the things that probably should have been done and get detailed help. Again, I swept it under the rug. And this is where my author's confession really, I hope, will be helpful to someone else. I found a lot of healing in my writing. I started my writing because I wanted to be an example to my daughter and not just tell her that she can go for her dreams, but do my own writing and try myself. But it wasn't until I started Neverlove, this book. It's the book that really wasn't supposed to be. It's the book that only happened because I explored some things. And writing Neverlove gave me a chance to start healing. Yes, I forgave the person who did what he did to me, and I learned to let any negative feelings go towards the two men who harassed me, but I did not learn to heal from the negative feelings I had about myself in regards to blaming myself, taking on all the blame so no one else had to be blamed. And I did that and started that process with my writing. Some of you have read Neverlove, and you know the first chapter involves familial sexual assault. Although I was not molested by a family member, and I'm blessed with an older brother that I'm not sure if I would have told him things would have gone over well, so I didn't tell him either. I didn't really want to tell anyone who could possibly make the situation worse, by coming up to my job and seeking to do something to them. I wanted to keep working until I could do better, and I did. But Neverlove was my first step towards me healing and learning to let go of blaming me. One of the things that I did, and that's part of Neverlove, is that the characters in Neverlove have certain powers. There's harvesters and there's cleansers. And I have a hero, a guy, and a heroine, my girl character. And the girl character is a cleanser. And the cleansers are kind of considered the good guys. They enter a realm that I call the Withers. It's basically like purgatory, where souls go to be led to the gates where they can seek judgment. Whatever their judgment it is, it's for them. But the cleansers are there to protect them, as the harvesters are there to steal them for the devourer. One of the things that's important is that cleansers have two very important tattoos that are scripture. One of them is from Isaiah 40. And I'll just read it to you from Neverlove. Tigra stood by her side when Abby took on her cleanser marks. Twin artists inked her first tattoo down her spine, a double helix, black ink only, with sparse shading. A scripture from Isaiah 40 spiraled within it. He gives strength to the weary and increases the power of the weak. But those who wait upon the Lord shall renew their strength. They shall mount up on wings as eagles. They shall run and not grow weary. They shall walk and not faint. Another scripture circled her back and forth like a belly chain. Small letters repeated 3 times from Jeremiah 30. But I will restore you to health and heal your wounds, declares the Lord. Those are chosen specifically because I needed to remind myself that the wounds I was covering, the wounds I was trying to pull the rug over and just sort of hide, the wounds needed to heal all the way, which meant not just forgiving those who've inflicted anything upon me, but to forgive myself so that I could heal. And that's been a very steady process. I've begun it because I've started writing. I'm healing through my words. I'm healing through my stories by channeling negative thoughts and negative feelings out of me so that they do not have a home to reside in anymore. I do have to do my own self-check so that I can find those bits and pieces that still remain and still work on cleansing myself. Here's another piece from Neverlove where I totally feel where Abigail is coming from. Back in the room, goodies littered Abby's bed. Taking a deep breath, she shared her most painful secrets with Tigra, recounting her life since her brother died. Walter, her too busy mom, pretending the goth girl look to keep people from the truth. Writing it out in her journal took the sting away, made it easy to open up to Tigra. Not a single tear dropped, though the same couldn't be said for Tigra. Tigra wiped the trail of tears from her cheeks. That is so sad, she sniffled. Things are better. Staying here has been the best. You know what's weird? What? I haven't spent half an hour in front of the mirror since the day I woke up. And in regards to waking up, it's from waking up from her attempt at suicide. I'm not used to being seen as just plain me. I like it. Don't have to hide anymore. And I'm sorry. You spilled your guts to me the first night. Here I was holding out like my problems were just so much worse than yours. Don't do that, Abby. Don't blame yourself. You can't blame yourself for everything that goes wrong. You didn't ask for it, but it happened. Now look what you've done right. Now look what I'm doing right. Look what I'm getting to do. I'm getting to write and to publish. And I am finally, truly, and honestly beginning to heal. And that is so much better than hiding behind, I don't know, my own mechanism at trying to do things. Some people have questioned why in the story of Neverlove I didn't go into this deep, detailed, angsty run out. It's because my character acted on her healing. It didn't mean she was over it. It didn't mean it ever went away. And it certainly didn't mean that she wouldn't feel certain things from it, because it was something that haunted her for such a long time. She couldn't turn it off and it never go and never be. But her healing came through action. And just maybe now I can try to encourage someone to do better than what I did. Perhaps you don't have to be quiet the way that I was. You don't have to be afraid that when you tell the truth, that the fingers would turn around and point back at you for your honesty. And that you can really and truly heal through your actions as well. Thank you so much for letting me ramble and for listening. Have a wonderful